Sarah Martinez stood trembling in the office corridor, her 6-year-old son clutching her hand, as the manager's words echoed through her mind. "You're fired." Her world was crumbling. No job meant no rent, no food, no future. But 24 hours later, when a stranger walked into that same office and said 5 words that would change everything, "That used to be me," Sarah discovered that sometimes our darkest moments are just the beginning of our greatest blessings. This is a story about struggle, compassion, and the unexpected miracle that reminded one mother that she was never truly alone. Sarah Martinez's alarm clock buzzed at 5:30 in the morning, just like it had every day for the past 3 years. She reached over and silenced it with a practiced motion, careful not to wake her 6-year-old son Daniel, who was curled up on the other side of their shared bed. The small 1-bedroom apartment in Queens was all she could afford on her receptionist salary, and even that was a constant struggle. She sat up slowly, her body aching from the double shift she had worked the day before. The bills scattered across the kitchen table seemed to multiply in the darkness: rent, utilities, Daniel's school supplies, medical bills from when he had fallen sick last month. Sarah pressed her palms against her eyes, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. She had promised herself she would not cry anymore. Tears did not pay bills. In the bathroom, she splashed cold water on her face and looked at her reflection. At 32, she looked older, the worry lines around her eyes testament to 3 years of single parenthood. Daniel's father had left when he was just a baby, disappeared without a word or a penny of support. Sarah had learned quickly that she could depend only on herself. "Mama?" Daniel's sleepy voice called from the bedroom. "I'm here, baby," Sarah said, forcing brightness into her voice as she returned to the room. "Time to get up. We have a big day today." Daniel rubbed his eyes and sat up, his dark hair sticking up in all directions. He looked so much like his father that it sometimes hurt Sarah's heart, but she pushed that thought away. Daniel was innocent, pure, and completely hers. "Is today the day I get to go to daycare?" he asked hopefully. Sarah's heart sank. For the past month, she had been unable to afford Daniel's daycare. Her neighbor, Mrs. Bet Chen, an elderly woman who lived down the hall, had been watching him. But yesterday, Mrs. Chen had called with terrible news. She was going to live with her daughter in California. "Today was your last day." "Not today, sweetheart," Sarah said, helping him into his clothes. "Today you are going to come to work with Mama." Daniel's face lit up. At 6, he did not understand the desperation behind this decision. To him, it was an adventure. Sarah knew better. She had begged her supervisor, Mr. Rees Anderson, yesterday for permission to bring Daniel just for 1 day while she figured out a solution. He had been cold, unsympathetic. "Company policy, Miss Martinez, no children in the office." But what choice did she have? She could not leave Daniel alone, and she could not afford to miss work. She was already behind on rent. As they rode the subway into Manhattan, Daniel pressed his face against the window, watching the tunnel lights flash by. Sarah held him close, breathing in the scent of the cheap shampoo she had used to wash his hair. "Please, God," she prayed silently, "please let this work out." The office building where Sarah worked loomed before them, all glass and steel and importance. She worked for Henderson Financial Consulting on the 14th floor, a job she had been grateful to get 3 years ago. The pay was not great, but it was steady, and steady was everything when you were alone. "Remember what I told you," Sarah whispered to Daniel as they entered the elevator. "You have to be very quiet, sit in the corner of my desk area, color in your book, and do not make any noise. Can you do that for Mama?" "I promise," Daniel said solemnly, his small hand squeezing hers. The office was already buzzing with activity when they arrived at 8 o'clock. Sarah's desk was in the reception area, the first thing anyone saw when they stepped off the elevator. She quickly sat Daniel up in the corner with his coloring books and crayons, her hands shaking as she logged into her computer. For the first hour, everything went smoothly. Daniel was true to his word, sitting quietly and coloring, occasionally looking up at his mother with a proud smile. Sarah fielded phone calls, greeted visitors, and tried to ignore the curious looks from passing coworkers. But at 9:30, everything fell apart. Mr. Henderson emerged from his office just as Daniel sneezed the loud, child-sized sneeze that echoed through the quiet reception area. The supervisor's eyes zeroed in on the small boy in the corner, and his face turned red with anger. "Miss Martinez," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "My office. Now." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "Sir, please, I can explain. Now." With trembling legs, Sarah stood and followed him, glancing back at Daniel, whose eyes were wide with fear. She had never heard that tone in her mother's workplace before. Inside Mr. Henderson's office there was no mercy, no understanding. "I specifically told you no children in the office," he said, his voice hard. "This is a professional environment, not a daycare center. Please, Mr. Henderson," Sarah begged, hating how her voice cracked. "It is just for today. My sitter had an emergency and I have no one else. I promise it will not happen again. I will find someone by tomorrow." "I have heard enough excuses from you, Miss Martinez," he interrupted. "You are always asking for time off for your kid, leaving early for his doctor's appointments, calling in sick when he is sick. This company needs reliable employees." "I am reliable," Sarah protested, tears now streaming down her face. "I have never missed a deadline. I stay late. I work through lunch. You are fired, effective immediately," Mr. Henderson said flatly. "Collect your things and leave. We will mail your final paycheck." The world seemed to tilt beneath Sarah's feet. "Please," she whispered, "please, I need this job. I have rent due, I have bills, I have a son." "You should have thought of that before you violated company policy," he said, already turning to his computer, dismissing her. "Security will escort you out if necessary." Sarah stumbled from his office, her vision blurred with tears. Daniel jumped up when he saw her face, his coloring book forgotten. "Mama, what is wrong?" "We have to go, baby," Sarah managed to say, gathering his things with shaking hands. Around her, co-workers averted their eyes, no one willing to witness her humiliation. Within 15 minutes, she and Daniel were standing on the sidewalk outside the building, her small box of desk belongings under her arm, her entire world in ruins. Sarah walked without direction, Daniel's small hand in hers, the box of her belongings growing heavier with each step. The afternoon sun beat down on the Manhattan streets, but she felt cold, numb. What was she going to do? How was she going to pay rent? How was she going to feed her son? "Mama, where are we going?" Daniel asked, his voice small and confused. "I do not know, baby," Sarah admitted, her voice hollow. "I just need to think." They found themselves in Central Park, sitting on a bench while other people jogged past, walked their dogs, lived their normal, unbroken lives. Sarah stared at the box in her lap, a few personal photos, a coffee mug Daniel had decorated for her birthday, a small plant that had sat on her desk. 3 years of work reduced to a cardboard box. "Are you sad because of me?" Daniel asked suddenly, his brown eyes filling with tears. "Because I sneezed." "No, no, no," Sarah said, pulling him into her arms so fiercely that he squeaked. "This is not your fault, Daniel. Do you hear me? This is not your fault. You did nothing wrong." But even as she said it, the guilt washed over her. If she had been alone, if she did not have a child to worry about, would she be in this position? The thought was ugly and unwelcome, and she pushed it away immediately. Daniel was her everything, her reason for fighting, for surviving. She would never regret him. As the afternoon wore on, Sarah forced herself to make a plan. She had maybe $600 in her bank account, not nearly enough for rent, which was due in 1 week. She could try to find another job quickly, but who would hire her immediately? And even if they did, she would not get paid for at least 2 weeks. She needed money now. Her phone buzzed with a text from her landlord, Mr. Kowalski. "Rent due Friday." No excuses this time, Sarah. Friday was 3 days away. That evening, back in their tiny apartment, Sarah made Daniel his favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese, from a box while her mind raced through impossible scenarios. She could ask for an extension on the rent, but Mr. Kowalski had already given her 2 extensions this year. She could try to borrow money, but from whom? She had no family. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 21, and she had no siblings. Her few friends were struggling just as much as she was. After Daniel was asleep, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, searching desperately for job postings. Receptionist, administrative assistant, customer service. She applied to everything she could find, knowing that most companies would take weeks to even review her resume. At midnight, she received an email notification. Her heart leaped. Maybe one of the jobs had already responded, but when she opened it, her hope crumbled. It was from Henderson Financial Consulting's HR department. A cold, formal message confirming her termination and informing her that her final paycheck would be direct deposited in 2 weeks, minus deductions for the hours she had missed. 2 weeks. She would be evicted by then. Sarah put her head down on the table and finally let herself cry deep, silent sobs that shook her entire body. She cried for her situation, for her son, for the unfairness of a world that punished people for simply trying to survive. She cried until she had no tears left, and then she lifted her head, wiped her face, and made a decision. She would not give up. She could not. Daniel was sleeping in the next room, innocent and trusting, believing that his mother could fix anything. She would not let him down. The next morning, Sarah woke with a plan. She would go to every temp agency in the city, beg for immediate placement. She would sell what little she owned of value. She would do whatever it took. But first, she had one last thing to try. At 7 in the morning, Sarah dressed in her best interview outfit and took Daniel back to Manhattan, back to the building where she had been humiliated just yesterday. She was not going to beg Mr. Henderson for her job back. That ship had sailed. But Henderson Financial Consulting shared the 14th floor with another company, Bright Future Consulting, a newer startup she had heard about through office gossip. They were expanding, growing. Maybe, just maybe, they needed someone. The office building lobby was quiet this early. Sarah held Daniel's hand as they rode the elevator up, her heart pounding. When the doors opened on the 14th floor, she turned right instead of left, away from Henderson's office and toward the glass doors marked Bright Future Consulting. The reception area was small but modern, with bright colors and motivational posters on the walls. A young woman at the desk looked up with a friendly smile. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I am looking for work," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Any position. I have 3 years of receptionist and administrative experience. I can start immediately. I know I should have called first, but—" She faltered, suddenly aware of how desperate she sounded. The receptionist's smile was sympathetic. "I am sorry, but we are not hiring right now. You could leave your resume and we will keep it on file." "Please," Sarah interrupted, hating the begging tone in her voice but unable to stop it. "I just need a chance. I am a hard worker. I learn fast. I will do anything: filing, data entry, cleaning. I do not care." "Mama?" Daniel whispered, tugging on her hand, sensing her distress. The receptionist's eyes softened as she looked at Daniel, then back at Sarah. "Let me see what I can do," she said quietly. "Wait here." She disappeared through a door behind her desk. Sarah and Daniel stood in the empty reception area, the seconds ticking by like hours. Sarah could hear voices behind the door, muffled and indistinct. She prepared herself for rejection, for the receptionist to return with a polite but final no. Instead, the door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, maybe 40, with dark hair touched with gray at the temples and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a casual button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and there was something about the way he looked at Sarah, really looked at her, not through her, that made her stand a little straighter. "Miss Martinez," he said, his voice warm, "I am James Brennan. I own Bright Future Consulting. Alicia tells me you are looking for work." "Yes, sir," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice professional despite the hope rising in her chest. "I have experience in reception, administration, customer service. I am reliable, organized, and I am available to start right away." She stopped, noticing how his gaze had shifted to Daniel, who was partially hiding behind her leg. "And who is this?" James asked, crouching down to Daniel's level with a smile. "I am Daniel," her son said shyly. "I am 6. 6 is a good age," James said seriously. "I remember being 6. It is a very important age." He stood back up, and something in his expression had changed, softened, somehow. "Miss Martinez, why do you not come into my office? We can talk about your experience." "Daniel, Alicia has some coloring books at her desk if you would like to color while your mom and I talk. Would that be okay?" Sarah's breath caught. He was not sending them away. He was giving her a chance. "Thank you," she managed to say. "Thank you so much." James Brennan's office was nothing like Mr. Henderson's. Where Henderson's office had been all dark wood and intimidation, James's space was light and welcoming, with plants on the windowsill and photos on his desk, a woman and two teenage kids smiling at the camera. "Please sit," James said, gesturing to a comfortable chair across from his desk. Through the glass walls, Sarah could see Daniel settling in with Alicia, already engrossed in a coloring book. James sat down and folded his hands on his desk, studying Sarah with an expression she could not quite read. "Tell me about your situation," he said simply. Sarah had prepared a professional summary of her experience, a rehearsed speech about her skills and qualifications. But something about this man's directness, his genuine interest, made the polished words die in her throat. Instead, the truth came spilling out. "I was fired yesterday," she said, her voice shaking, "from Henderson Financial Consulting, right down the hall. I brought my son to work because my childcare fell through, and my supervisor fired me for it. I have rent due in 3 days that I cannot pay. I have been applying for jobs everywhere, but no one responds immediately, and I do not have time to wait. I am desperate, Mr. Brennan. I need work, and I need it now, and I know that probably sounds terrible to you, that you do not want to hire desperate people, but I am also good at what I do. I am organized. I am punctual. I am professional. I just—" She stopped, realizing she was rambling. "I am sorry. You probably think I am crazy." "I do not think you are crazy," James said quietly. "I think you are a mother doing whatever it takes to take care of her child." Something in his tone made Sarah look up, really look at him. There was understanding in his eyes, something deeper than sympathy. "Can I tell you a story, Miss Martinez?" he asked. Sarah nodded, uncertain where this was going. James leaned back in his chair, his gaze drifting to the window. "When I was 6 years old, my father left. Just vanished one day. Left my mother with 3 kids and no money. She worked 2 jobs trying to keep us afloat, but it was never enough. There were times we did not have enough food, times the electricity got shut off, times we moved in the middle of the night because we could not pay rent." Sarah's throat tightened, recognizing her own story in his words. "One winter, my mother was working as a receptionist at a law firm," James continued. "Our babysitter quit without warning, and my mother had no choice but to bring me to work with her. I sat under her desk, quiet as a mouse, trying not to be noticed. But the senior partner found out. He fired her on the spot. No second chances, no mercy. We ended up homeless for 3 months after that. We lived in a shelter, and then in our car." "I am so sorry," Sarah whispered. James smiled, but it was tinged with old pain. It was the lowest point of our lives. But it was also the moment that shaped everything I became. Because while we were in that shelter, we met people who helped us, social workers, volunteers, other families who had been through the same thing. They showed us kindness when we needed it most. They gave us second chances. Eventually, my mother got back on her feet, found a good job, and we made it through. But I never forgot what it felt like to be that 6-year-old boy, watching his mother cry because someone had taken away her dignity along with her job." He looked directly at Sarah now, and she saw tears in his eyes. "When Alicia told me there was a mother in the lobby with her son asking for work, something made me come out here. And when I saw Daniel, when I saw you, I saw my mother and myself 34 years ago. That used to be me, Miss Martinez, that scared little boy in the corner, that desperate mother trying to hold it all together. That used to be me." Sarah could not speak. Tears were streaming down her face, but she made no move to wipe them away. "So here is what I am going to do," James said, his voice stronger now. "I am going to offer you a job, not out of pity, but because I believe that everyone deserves a second chance, and because I have a feeling that someone who fights as hard as you do for your child is going to fight just as hard for this company. We have an administrative assistant position that just opened up full-time, benefits, and the pay is $15 an hour more than what Henderson was paying you. I checked," he added with a slight smile. Sarah's heart stopped. "I do not understand. You do not even know me. You have not seen my resume." "I know enough," James said firmly. "I know you are willing to humiliate yourself begging for work to take care of your son. I know you showed up here at 7 in the morning dressed professionally, ready to fight. I know that Daniel is polite and well-behaved, which tells me you are a good mother who has raised him right despite your circumstances. That is all I need to know. Mr. Jury, Brennan, Sarah's voice broke. I do not know what to say. Say yes, James said simply. Say you will start Monday, and say you will let me help you with your immediate rent situation. We have an emergency fund for employees in crisis. Consider it in advance on your salary. You can pay it back over time, no interest. This was too much. It was too much kindness, too much generosity. Sarah had spent so long fighting alone, expecting nothing from anyone, that she did not know how to accept help. Why? She asked through her tears. Why would you do this for a stranger? James stood and walked around his desk, perching on the edge of it as he looked down at her with infinite gentleness. Because 34 years ago, someone did it for my mother, he said. A woman at the shelter helped her get a job interview, vouched for her, gave her a chance when no one else would. My mother spent the rest of her life paying that kindness forward, helping other people the way she had been helped. Before she died 5 years ago, she made me promise to do the same, to remember where I came from, to never forget what it feels like to need someone to believe in you. He extended his hand. So what do you say, Miss Martinez? Do we have a deal? Sarah stood on shaking legs and took his hand, gripping it like a lifeline. Yes, she whispered. Yes, we have a deal. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the chance to honor my mother's memory, James said softly. Now, let us get the paperwork started. Alicia will help you with everything, and Miss Martinez, welcome to Bright Future Consulting. I have a feeling you are going to do great things here. As Sarah left his office, her legs barely supporting her, she felt as though she had stepped from darkness into light. Daniel ran to her, his coloring book forgotten. Mama, are you happy now? He asked, seeing her tears but sensing they were different than yesterday's. Yes, baby, Sarah said, hugging him so tight he giggled. Yes, I am happy now. She looked back through the glass wall and saw James on the phone, already making arrangements. Through her tears, she mouthed 2 words. Thank you. He nodded, understanding everything that could not be said. Monday morning arrived like a dream Sarah was afraid to wake from. She had spent the weekend in a daze of gratitude and disbelief, unable to fully accept that her life had changed so dramatically in the span of a single conversation. James Brennan had been true to his word. Friday afternoon, Sarah's bank account had received a deposit for 3 months' rent, enough to pay Mr. Rent, Kowalski, and have a small cushion for the first time in years. That morning, Sarah woke before her alarm, her heart racing with nervous excitement. She dressed carefully in the new blouse she had bought from a thrift store, wanting to make the best impression possible on her first day. Daniel was bouncing with excitement, thrilled that his mama had a happy job now. Mrs. Bench, Chen, before she had left for California, had connected Sarah with her niece Lily, a college student who was looking for part-time childcare work. The rate was affordable, and when Sarah had met her, she had immediately felt comfortable. Lily was studying early childhood education and had a natural warmth with children. Daniel had taken to her immediately. You are going to be so good today for Miss Lily, right? Sarah asked as she packed his lunch. I promise, Mama, Daniel said seriously, because you have to do good at your new job. Do well, Sarah corrected automatically, then kissed the top of his head. And yes, I do. When Sarah arrived at Bright Future Consulting at 8 o'clock sharp, Alicia greeted her with a genuine smile. Sarah, welcome. We are so glad you are here. Let me show you to your desk. The office was buzzing with Monday morning energy. Unlike Henderson's stuffy, silent workplace, Bright Future Consulting felt alive. People called greetings to each other. Music played softly in the background, and there was an atmosphere of collaboration rather than competition. Sarah's desk was in a shared administrative area with 2 other assistants, Monica and Keisha, who welcomed her warmly. Monica, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, immediately took Sarah under her wing. Do not let the first day overwhelm you, she said. We are all here to help. James runs a good company. He actually cares about his employees. I am learning that, Sarah said softly. James appeared mid-morning, making rounds to check on various teams. When he reached Sarah's desk, he smiled. How was your first day going? Wonderfully, sir, Sarah said. Everyone has been so welcoming. Good. And Sarah, you can call me James. We are pretty informal here. He paused, then added, How is Daniel doing with his new sitter? The fact that he remembered her son's name, that he cared enough to ask, brought a lump to Sarah's throat. "He is doing great. Thank you for asking. Glad to hear it. Let me know if you need anything." The work itself was challenging but manageable. Sarah was handling scheduling, correspondence, data entry, and client communications for 3 different consultants. It required organization and attention to detail, skills she had in abundance. For the first time in years, she felt competent, valued. At lunch, Monica and Keisha invited her to join them in the break room. As they ate, they shared office stories, filling Sarah in on the company culture. "James started this company 5 years ago," Keisha explained. "He had worked at a big consulting firm, made a lot of money, but he hated the culture. So he started Bright Future with the idea of doing things differently. Fair pay, good benefits, work-life balance. He actually means it when he says he cares about employees." "He gave me a second chance when I really needed it," Sarah said quietly. Monica reached over and squeezed her hand. "He has done that for a lot of us. That is just who he is." The days turned into weeks, and Sarah settled into a routine that felt almost miraculous in its normality. She worked hard, arriving early and staying late when needed, determined to prove that James's faith in her was not misplaced. Her co-workers became friends. Daniel thrived with Lily, coming home each day with stories about the games they played and the things he was learning. For the first time since Daniel's father had left, Sarah felt stable, secure. She could pay her bills on time. She could buy Daniel new shoes when he needed them, not when she could finally afford them. She could breathe. One evening, about 6 weeks after she started, James called her into his office. Sarah felt a flutter of old anxiety. Being called into the boss's office still triggered memories of Mr. Henderson, but she pushed it down. "You wanted to see me?" she asked from his doorway. "Come in, sit down," James said with a smile. "I've been reviewing everyone's performance for the quarter, and I wanted to talk to you about yours." Sarah sat, her heart pounding. "You have been exceptional," James said simply. "The consultants you support all have glowing things to say about you. You are organized, proactive, detail-oriented, and you handle client communications beautifully. I am impressed, Sarah, really impressed." Relief and pride flooded through her. "Thank you. I just want to do my best for you and for this company. You gave me a chance when I had nothing. I will never forget that." James leaned forward, his expression serious. "I want you to understand something. I did not hire you as charity. I hired you because I saw potential. You have exceeded even my expectations. You have earned your place here. That means everything to me," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "There is something else," James continued. "We are expanding our client services division, and I am going to need someone to coordinate between the consultants and the clients, handle complex scheduling, manage some project timelines. It is a step up from what you are doing now with a significant pay increase. I would like to offer that position to you." Sarah's eyes widened. "A promotion? Already? You have earned it," James said firmly. "What do you say?" "Yes," Sarah said immediately. "Yes, absolutely. Thank you, James. I will not let you down." "I know you will not," he said with a warm smile. "You never have." That evening, Sarah took Daniel out for ice cream to celebrate, a small luxury that a few months ago would have been impossible. As they sat in the ice cream shop, Daniel happily working on his chocolate cone, Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you crying, Mama?" Daniel asked, concerned. "Is the ice cream sad?" Sarah laughed through her tears. "No, baby. These are happy tears. Do you remember when Mama lost her job at the other place? When we were so sad and scared?" Daniel nodded seriously. "I remember. Well, sometimes bad things happen so that good things can find us," Sarah said, wiping her eyes. "If Mama had not lost that job, she never would have met Mr. James, and we would not have all the good things we have now. Sometimes we have to go through hard times to get to the blessings waiting for us." "Mr. James is nice," Daniel said. "He remembered my name." "Yes, he is," Sarah agreed. "He is very nice, and he gave us a second chance when we needed it most." She thought about that moment in James's office 6 weeks ago when he had said those 5 words that changed everything. "That used to be me. He had seen his younger self in her son, his mother's struggle in her own, and instead of looking away, instead of protecting his company from the risk of a desperate single mother, he had chosen compassion. He had chosen to remember his own pain and use it to prevent someone else's. That night, after Daniel was asleep, Sarah sat at her kitchen table, the same table where 6 weeks ago she had cried over impossible bills. Now the bills were paid, the rent was secure, her son was happy and thriving, and she had a future that looked bright for the first time in 3 years. She thought about Mr. Henderson, who had fired her without mercy. A part of her wanted to feel angry, to feel vindictive. But sitting there in her quiet apartment, secure and at peace, she realized she felt something else entirely: gratitude. Because if Henderson had not fired her, she never would have walked into Bright Future Consulting. She never would have met James Brennan. She never would have found this job, this promotion, this new life. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the doorway to the best thing waiting for you. You just have to keep going long enough to walk through it. 3 months later, Sarah had fully grown into her new role as Client Services Coordinator. She managed multiple projects, coordinated between busy consultants and demanding clients, and had become an integral part of the Bright Future team. The promotion had come with a salary increase that allowed her to finally move to a 2-bedroom apartment, giving Daniel his own room for the first time in his life. Life was not perfect, it never was, but it was good, stable. Sarah had started to build savings, something she had never imagined possible. Daniel was excelling in school, making friends, thriving in ways that broke her heart with gratitude. One afternoon, Sarah was in the break room making coffee when she heard a commotion in the reception area. Alicia's voice, usually cheerful, sounded strained. Then a woman's voice, desperate and pleading. Sarah's curiosity pulled her toward the sound. When she reached the reception area, she saw a young woman, probably early 20s, holding a sleeping toddler. The woman's eyes were red from crying, and she was talking to Alicia in a rushed, frantic whisper. "Please, I just need to talk to someone about a job." "Any job," the woman was saying. "I know I should have called first. I know I do not have an appointment, but I am desperate. I just got evicted. I have nowhere to go. I need work. I need it now." Sarah froze, the words echoing in her mind. She had said almost exactly those same words in this exact spot 3 months ago. Alicia was trying to be kind but firm. "I understand your situation. I really do. But we are not hiring right now. If you leave your resume—" "I cannot wait for someone to review my resume," the woman said, her voice breaking. "I have a 2-year-old daughter. We slept in my car last night. I need help now." The toddler stirred in her arms, making a small sound, and Sarah's heart shattered. She remembered being that desperate. She remembered the terror of not knowing how she would feed her child. "Excuse me," Sarah said, stepping forward. Both Alicia and the young woman looked at her. "I am Sarah Martinez. I work here. What is your name?" "Jessica," the woman said, hope flickering in her eyes. "Jessica Morgan." "Jessica, why do you not come with me to the break room?" Sarah said gently. "Your daughter can rest on the couch there and we can talk, okay?" Jessica nodded gratefully, and Alicia shot Sarah a questioning but understanding look. In the break room, Sarah settled Jessica's daughter on the couch with a cushion and a blanket she found in the supply closet. The little girl curled up and went back to sleep, exhausted. Jessica sat at the table, her hands shaking as Sarah brought her a cup of coffee. "Tell me what happened," Sarah said softly, sitting across from her. The story poured out. Jessica had been working at a retail store, barely making ends meet as a single mother. Her babysitter had suddenly doubled her rates Jessica could not afford. She had missed 3 days of work trying to find alternative childcare, and her manager had fired her. With no job, she could not pay rent. The eviction had been swift and merciless. "I have been to 6 places today," Jessica said, tears streaming down her face. "Everyone says the same thing. They are not hiring, or they need references, or they want someone who can start in 2 weeks. I do not have 2 weeks. I do not have 2 days. I need help now." Sarah reached across the table and took Jessica's hand. "I understand more than you know. I understand." She told Jessica her story, the firing, the desperation, the moment James Brennan had changed her life. As Sarah spoke, Jessica's tears slowed, replaced by something like hope. So you really understand, Jessica whispered. I really do, Sarah said, and I am going to help you. I do not know if we have a position available right now, but I'm going to talk to James. He is the owner. He is the one who gave me my second chance. You would do that? Jessica asked, disbelief in her voice. For a stranger? You are not a stranger, Sarah said firmly. You are not a stranger, Sarah said firmly. You are me 3 months ago, and someone helped me when I needed it. Now it is my turn to help someone else. Sarah left Jessica in the break room and went directly to James's office. He looked up from his computer as she knocked on his open door. Sarah, come in. What is up? Sarah explained the situation, her words tumbling over each other in her urgency. James listened without interrupting, his expression thoughtful. Please, James, Sarah finished. I know we were not planning to hire anyone else right now, but maybe we could find something, even part-time. I will train her myself on my own time. I cannot turn away from her. Not when I know what that desperation feels like. James was quiet for a moment, and Sarah held her breath. Then he smiled, a smile that reached his eyes. You know what my mother used to say? He asked. She said that kindness is a language everyone understands, and when someone shows you kindness in your darkest moment, you should spend the rest of your life speaking that language to others. He stood up. Let us go meet Jessica. In the break room, James introduced himself and sat down with Jessica while Sarah watched, her heart full. She saw in James's face the same expression he had worn when he had met her 3 months ago. Recognition, compassion, determination to help. Jessica, I am going to be honest with you, James said. We were not planning to hire anyone else this quarter. But I am learning that plans can change when the right person comes along at the right time. We have been considering expanding our administrative team to handle our growth. I think maybe the universe is telling us now is the time. Jessica's eyes widened. Are you saying, I am saying I would like to offer you a position as an administrative assistant, starting immediately, James said. The pay is competitive. We have full benefits, and we are very understanding about childcare needs. We have several employees who are parents, and we work together to make sure everyone can balance their work and family responsibilities. I do not understand, Jessica whispered. You do not even know me. You have not seen my resume, checked my references. Sarah vouched for you, James said simply. That is good enough for me. She sees herself in you, which means I see my mother and myself in you. That makes you family. And we take care of family here. Jessica burst into tears, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Sarah moved around the table and hugged her while she cried, remembering how she had cried the same tears of relief and gratitude 3 months ago. When Jessica finally composed herself, James explained the practical detail: start date, salary, benefits, the advance on rent that was available. The little girl on the couch woke up and stumbled over to her mother, rubbing her eyes. Mommy, why are you crying? She asked in a small voice. These are happy tears, baby, Jessica said, pulling her daughter into her lap and kissing her head. Everything is going to be okay now. These nice people are helping us. James looked at Sarah over Jessica's head, and something passed between them, an understanding, a shared mission. You did good, he mouthed silently. Sarah felt tears prick her own eyes. This was what it meant to pay kindness forward. This was what James's mother had taught him, what he had taught Sarah, what Sarah would teach Jessica. An endless chain of compassion, linking strangers together in their most desperate moments. Over the next weeks, Sarah took Jessica under her wing, training her, supporting her, helping her navigate the challenges of a new job. She connected Jessica with Lily for childcare, helped her find a new apartment in a building near Sarah's own. They became friends, bonded by their shared experiences, by their understanding of what it meant to fight alone and then discover you are not alone after all. One evening, the entire Bright Future team gathered for a quarterly celebration. James always made these events family-friendly, encouraging employees to bring their children. Daniel and Jessica's daughter Emma were playing together in a corner while the adults mingled. James stood up to make a toast. I want to thank all of you for your hard work this quarter, he said. Bright Future Consulting has grown beyond what I imagined possible when I started this company. But more than our business success, I am proud of the culture we have built here. We are more than coworkers. We are a community. We believe in second chances, in lifting each other up, in remembering that everyone is fighting battles we know nothing about. He looked directly at Sarah and Jessica. Some of you know my story. Some of you know that I understand what it means to struggle, to need someone to believe in you when you have stopped believing in yourself. I built this company with my mother's values at its core. She taught me that our success is meaningless if we do not use it to help others, that the true measure of our character is not what we achieve for ourselves, but what we do for those who cannot repay us. He raised his glass. So here is to all of us, to second chances, to compassion, to the family we choose, and to always remembering where we came from so we never forget where we are going. Hear, hear, the room chorused, raising their glasses. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes as Monica squeezed her shoulder. Across the room, Jessica was crying too, cradling her daughter close. Their eyes met, and they smiled through their tears, a smile of survivors, of mothers, of women who had been broken and were now whole. Daniel ran over and tugged on Sarah's hand. "Mama, why is everyone crying? Is it another happy crying?" Sarah laughed and picked him up, even though he was getting too big for it. "Yes, baby, it is happy crying, the best kind." As the party continued around them, Sarah thought about the chain of events that had led to this moment. Mr. Henderson's cruelty had been her doorway to James's kindness. Her desperation had been her introduction to hope. Her pain had become her purpose. She understood now what James's mother had known, that the worst moments of our lives prepare us for our greatest missions, that our scars become our credentials to help others who are hurting, that the kindness we receive is meant to be passed on, multiplied, shared until it touches more lives than we can count. 1 year later, Sarah Martinez stood in the conference room of Bright Future Consulting, looking out over the Manhattan skyline. The view had not changed, but everything else had. She was now the Director of Client Services, leading a team of 6 people. The promotion had come 6 months ago, along with a salary that would have seemed impossible just a year before. She had a 3-bedroom apartment, a growing savings account, and most importantly, peace of mind. Daniel, now 7, was thriving. He was on the honor roll at school, taking piano lessons, and had a close group of friends. The scared, quiet boy who had clung to her leg in desperation was now confident and happy, secure in the knowledge that his mother could handle anything. Jessica had been promoted too, moving up to senior administrative assistant. She and Emma had their own apartment now, and Emma was enrolled in a good preschool. The transformation in both of them was remarkable, from homeless and desperate to stable and hopeful, all in the span of a year. But the real change was what Bright Future Consulting had become. James had been so moved by Sarah's action with Jessica that he had formalized it into a company initiative. They now had a Second Chances program, actively seeking to hire people who were going through difficult circumstances, single parents, people who had been recently laid off, individuals coming out of rehab, veterans struggling to transition to civilian life. It was not charity. James insisted that every hire meet professional standards, but Bright Future was willing to look past gaps in resumes, to provide on-the-job training, to offer flexibility that other companies would not. The program had been wildly successful. Not only had it helped dozens of people get back on their feet, but it had also resulted in some of the most loyal, hard-working employees the company had ever had. People who had been given second chances did not take them for granted. Today, Sarah was presenting at a leadership meeting about expanding the program even further. As she organized her notes, James entered the conference room. "Big day," he said with a smile. "I am a little nervous," Sarah admitted. "This is the first time I am presenting to the entire leadership team." "You are going to do great," James assured her. "You have earned your place at this table, Sarah. Never forget that." The rest of the leadership team filtered in: Monica, who had been promoted to operations manager; David, the head of consulting services; Rachel, who ran HR, and several others. They had all heard about the Second Chances program, had all seen its success, and were eager to hear Sarah's proposal. Sarah took a deep breath and began her presentation. She spoke from the heart, sharing not just data and metrics but stories. Her story, Jessica's story, the stories of 10 other employees who had been hired to the program, who had transformed their lives and become invaluable members of the team. "The beauty of this program," Sarah said, clicking to her final slide, "is that it creates a cycle of compassion. When someone is given a second chance, when they are lifted up at their lowest moment, they do not forget it. They pay it forward. We have already seen this happening. Jessica helped recruit our newest administrative assistant, Marcus, who is a veteran struggling with PTSD. Marcus has been mentoring another employee, Shanice, a young single mother who reminds him of his sister. We are not just helping individuals. We are creating a culture of empathy and support that extends beyond our office walls. She paused, looking around the room at faces that showed understanding and support. A year ago, I was that desperate single mother. I was fired from a job for bringing my son to work. I thought my life was over. But James saw past my desperation to my potential. He took a chance on me, and that chance changed everything, not just for me, but for my son, for the people I have been able to help, for the ripple effect that continues to spread. Her voice grew stronger, more passionate. I am proposing that we expand the Second Chances program significantly, that we partner with homeless shelters, domestic violence organizations, veteran services, and other community groups, that we make it our mission to actively seek out talented people who just need someone to believe in them, not because it is a charity, but because it is good business and the right thing to do. When she finished, there was a moment of silence. Then the room erupted in applause. James was smiling with pride. Monica was wiping tears from her eyes, and the rest of the team was nodding enthusiastically. "That was incredible, Sarah," David said. "You have my full support." "Mine too," Rachel added. "I think this could be a model for other companies. We could lead the way in corporate social responsibility." James stood up. "I am proud of this company every day, but moments like this remind me why I started Bright Future in the first place. Sarah, your proposal is approved. Let us make this happen." After the meeting, as people were filing out, James pulled Sarah aside. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Of course. When I hired you a year ago, I did it because you reminded me of my mother's struggle, of my own childhood. I wanted to help you because someone had helped us. But Sarah, you have become so much more than someone I helped. You have become a leader, a visionary, someone who is changing lives and culture. I am so proud of you." Sarah felt tears welling up. "I would not be here without you, James. You gave me a chance when no one else would. And you took that chance and multiplied it 100 times over," James said. "That is all you. That is your kindness, your empathy, your refusal to forget where you came from. Do not minimize that." They picked Daniel up from after-school care. They stopped at their favorite pizza place for dinner, a regular Friday tradition now. "Mama, can I ask you something?" Daniel said as they sat down with their slices. "Always, baby. Do you remember when we were sad? When you lost your job at the mean place?" Sarah's heart squeezed. She tried to shield Daniel from difficult memories, but he remembered. "I remember. I was scared," Daniel admitted. "I thought it was my fault because I sneezed." Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. "It was never your fault, Daniel. Never. And yes, that time was scary. But you know what? That scary time led us to something wonderful. If I had not lost that job, we never would have found Mr. James in Bright Future. We never would have our nice apartment, or your piano lessons, or Miss Lily, or any of the good things we have now." "So bad things can turn into good things?" Daniel asked. "Sometimes," Sarah said carefully. "Not always, and not easily. But sometimes, yes. The important thing is that we do not give up when bad things happen. We keep fighting. We keep believing that something better is coming, and we help other people who are going through their own bad times." Daniel thought about this seriously, like how you helped Miss Jessica and Miss Emma. "Exactly like that." "When I grow up," Daniel said, his voice determined, "I want to help people too, like you and Mr. James." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes yet again. "You are going to do amazing things, my love. I just know it." They finished their pizza, and as they walked home through the New York streets, Sarah reflected on the journey of the past year. She thought about the woman she had been, desperate, terrified, certain her life was over. She thought about the countless moments of kindness that had lifted her up, and she thought about all the lives that had been touched by that initial act of compassion from James Brennan. That night, after Daniel was asleep, Sarah sat at her laptop and wrote an email to James. "Dear James, I have been thinking about something my son said tonight. about how bad things can turn into good things. A year ago, I was at the lowest point of my life. I had been fired. I was facing eviction. I was terrified for my son's future. But that moment of desperation led me to your door. It led me to you saying 5 words that changed my life, that used to be me. Those words did more than give me a job. They reminded me that I was not alone, that someone understood my struggle, that compassion still existed in the world. They gave me hope when I had none. Now I get to be the one who says those words to others. Every time we hire someone through the Second Chances program, every time I see the relief and gratitude in their eyes, I remember how I felt that day in your office. And I understand that this is my purpose, not just to do my job well, but to pay forward the incredible gift you gave me. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you for believing in me when I had stopped believing in myself. Thank you for teaching me that our struggles are not meant to break us, but to prepare us to help others. I promise to honor your mother's legacy, your kindness, and the second chance you gave me by continuing to pay it forward for the rest of my life. With eternal gratitude, Sarah. She hit send and sat back, feeling the peace that comes from knowing your life has purpose and meaning. Her phone buzzed a few minutes later, a text from James. Sarah, your email just made my night. My mother would have loved you. I think somehow she brought us together. Keep changing the world, one second chance at a time. James. Sarah smiled through her tears, feeling the presence of a woman she had never met, but whose legacy had saved her life. She thought about the chain of kindness that stretched back decades. James's mother being helped by a stranger, teaching James to pay it forward. James helping Sarah, Sarah helping Jessica, and on, touching more lives than anyone could count. This was the real miracle, not the job or the money or the stability, as wonderful as those things were. The miracle was the discovery that humanity's default setting is not cruelty, but compassion. That when we are given the choice between protecting ourselves and helping others, there are still people who choose help. That kindness creates more kindness, spreading like light through darkness. As Sarah prepared for bed, she looked in on Daniel one last time. He was sleeping peacefully, his face relaxed and happy, so different from the scared little boy who had clung to her in that reception area a year ago. "We made it, baby," she whispered. "We really made it." And as she closed the door softly and headed to her own bed, Sarah Martinez understood the truth that would guide the rest of her life. We are all just one act of kindness away from becoming our best selves. Sometimes we are the ones who need that kindness. Sometimes we are the ones who can offer it. But always, we are connected by our shared humanity, our shared struggles, and our shared capacity for compassion. The story that had begun with despair and ended with hope was really just beginning, because every day brought new opportunities to say to someone who was struggling, "That used to be me." And in those 5 words, to change another life forever, this story teaches us one of life's most profound truths. Our darkest moments can become doorways to our greatest blessings, and the kindness we receive is meant to be multiplied and shared. Sarah's journey reminds us that, 1. Empathy changes everything. When James Brennan saw his own childhood reflected in Sarah and Daniel, he chose compassion over policy. One act of understanding transformed multiple lives. 2. Our struggles prepare us for our purpose. Sarah's painful experience did not break her, it positioned her to help others facing the same challenges. Our scars become our credentials to help the hurting. 3. Kindness creates ripples we cannot see. James helped Sarah, Sarah helped Jessica, Jessica helped Marcus, an endless chain of compassion that continues to spread. We never know how far our kindness will reach. 4. Everyone is fighting battles we know nothing about. Before we judge someone for their circumstances, we should remember that we are all just a few bad days away from needing someone to believe in us. 5. Second chances should be our default, not our exception. When we have the power to lift someone up, we should use it. The person struggling today could be tomorrow's success story. The next time you see someone who is desperate, struggling, or in need, remember Sarah's story. Remember that used to be me, are 5 words that can change a life forever. Choose compassion. Choose to help. Choose to be the miracle someone is praying for. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to this channel for more inspiring stories that remind us of the goodness still present in our world. Remember, you are never too broken to be blessed, and you are never too blessed to help someone who is broken. We rise by lifting others. Thank you for watching, and may you always remember, when you help someone else climb, you reach higher ground yourself.